Let me tell you, it all started because I just wanted to prove a point. Honestly, it wasn't a big deal. Not in my eyes anyway. But then, next thing I know, I've got this whole criminal record thing hanging over my head. And he's just walking around totally fine. Like, what even happened? My name's Sienna, and I'm 28 and still trying to figure out how I ended up here. I probably should have seen it coming, I guess. Things with Chad were, well, they were Chad. He was one of those guys, always trying to be Mr. Nice guy. Mr. Perfect. Mr. People pleaser. It drove me absolutely bonkers. We'd be out with friends, and he'd be so supportive, so sweet, always agreeing with me, making sure I had everything I needed. And then we'd get home, and he'd just turn into this lump, like total disengaged, tired, checked out lump. It was infuriating. I'd try to talk about my day, about my boss at work being a total jerk, or some drama with girls, and he'd just grunt, half listening while staring at his phone. God, it made me want to scream. He was always so busy with his growth mindset stuff, going to therapy, setting boundaries, being self-aware, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, it was just a lot of talk. If you asked me, he'd come home from his sessions, all enlightened, saying things like, Sienna, we need to communicate more effectively, or I'm learning to express my needs without judgment. And I'd just roll my eyes, but only on the inside, of course, outwardly. I'd be like, oh, that's great. Honey, tell me all about it. Because that's what you do, right? You pretend to be supportive, but between you and me, I was thinking, this guy's so full of it. One time, he started going on and on about how I needed to be more transparent. Transparent? Can you believe it? He was all, Sienna, I just want to know where you are, who you're with. It's about trust. And I'm just sitting there thinking, dude, you literally just spent 3 hours at the gym and didn't tell me you were going. But did I say that? No, I just got defensive. As anyone would. What? Are you accusing me of something? I told you I was going out with Lisa. Are you checking my phone now? And then, when he'd try to explain, I'd just shut down. Tears. The whole 9 yards. Works every time. He'd backtrack. Apologize. And the subject would be dropped. It's not manipulation if it's effective, right? The financial stuff was always a sore point too. He had this decent job, and I had mine, but he always covered the lion's share of everything. Guarantee bills, car payments for my car, and I'd keep my money separate for my own things, because a girl needs her independence. He'd bring it up sometimes, gently, like, Sienna, maybe we could combine our accounts, or you could contribute a bit more to the household expenses. And I'd just laugh it off. Oh, honey, you're so sweet. But I'm terrible with money. Besides, you make so much more. He'd just sigh and let it go. Honestly, I didn't get why he was so worried about it. He had plenty. Our arguments were always like that. He'd try to be all direct. And I'd just hit him with the passive-aggressive stuff. Subtle digs, disguised as jokes. Oh, Chad, you're so good at loading the dishwasher. Unlike some people I know. Or if he'd spent too much time on his hobbies that didn't include me, like his stupid Dungeons and Dragons game, I'd be like, wow, you really love those dragons more than you love spending time with me, don't you? He'd always get this defeated look, and then he'd try to make it up to me. See, it worked. I was always posting about us on Facebook. All the cute couple photos, the romantic dinners. The chat is the best. Captions, but that was just for show. For all those other girls. Those bitches who were probably jealous of what I had. What they didn't see was the constant criticism I dished out when we were alone. Chad, your shirt is so lame. Chad, why are you always so quiet around my friends? It was just constructive criticism. Really, he needed to hear it. My friends were a whole different story. He'd question who I was with, or why I was going out so much without him. And I'd be like, Chad, are you seriously jealous of my friendships? That's so unhealthy. Meanwhile, if he so much as mentioned going for a beer with his buddy, Mark, I'd be all, Mark, that Mark. Are you sure you should be hanging out with him, honey? He's a bad influence. It wasn't jealousy, it was concern. Totally different. Sometimes, when he'd try to talk about something serious, something that actually bothered him, I'd just pull out the old weaponized vulnerability card. Chad. After everything I'd been through, all the trauma from my last relationship, I just can't handle this kind of pressure. And he'd just immediately back off. He'd always apologize, saying he didn't mean to upset me. And I'd just nod sadly, feeling smug. It was so easy. The moving goalpost thing. Oh, I was a pro. He'd finally meet one of my expectations. And then I'd just subtly shift to a new one. He'd clean the entire apartment. And I'd be like, it's nice, but you missed that spot behind the couch. He'd get me flowers. And I'd say, these are pretty, but I really love peonies. You know, he never caught on. Bless his heart. He just kept trying harder and harder. He had this idea of taking a pottery class. A pottery class. Can you imagine? He was so excited about it. And I was just like, Chad, that sounds so boring. Why don't we do something we can both enjoy? Like that new Netflix show. Or, are you sure you have time for that? Don't you have that big project at work coming up? Anything to discourage his growth. His hobbies that didn't include me. Because honestly, what's the point if I'm not involved? And my memory? Selective. Absolutely selective. I could recall every single one of his screw-ups. Every time he was late. Every time he forgot something important. But if he brought up something I did, something I messed up, what are you talking about? I never said that. You're making that up. Gaslighting expert. That's me. He'd actually start questioning his own perceptions. His own memory. It was amazing. Really, you're being dramatic? Or it's not that serious. Those were my go-to lines whenever he dared to express a feeling that wasn't pure sunshine and rainbows. He'd try to tell me he was feeling overwhelmed or stressed from work. And I'd just invalidate it. Like, what was he even complaining about? He had a good job, a nice apartment, and me. He had nothing to be dramatic about. I kept a mental tally, of all the things he did wrong, all the times he disappointed me, all the ways he fell short. And then, when we had an argument, I'd just pull out my scorekeeping ledger and hit him with it. Remember that time you forgot my birthday? And that time you were supposed to pick me up from the airport, and you were an hour late. It was leverage. Pure leverage. He used to say I was hot and cold. 1 minute. I'd be all over him, showering him with affection, telling him he was the best thing ever. The next, I'd be distant, aloof, acting like he didn't even exist, and he'd just try harder to get my attention. To win me back? It was fun to watch him squirm. I loved comparing him to other guys, not to his face, of course, but subtly. Like, oh, my friend Jessica's boyfriend just took her on this amazing trip to Italy. Isn't that sweet? Knowing full well that Chad would never do something like that because he was too busy being practical and boring. It just made him feel inadequate, which was kind of the point. My favorite trick was rewriting history. He'd bring up something that happened, and I'd just completely change the narrative. No, honey, that's not how it happened. You're remembering it all wrong. And because I was so insistent, and he was so gentle, he'd usually just give in. It was like I had a time machine, and I was the only one who knew how it worked. And apologies, only when it benefited me. If I needed something from him, or if I thought he was about to pull away, I'd offer a half-hearted, I'm sorry if I upset you, or I'm sorry that you feel that way. Never a genuine, I messed up, because I rarely did. In my opinion, then there were his insecurities. Oh, I knew them all. His fear of not being good enough, his worries about his job, his concerns about our future. And during arguments, when I really wanted to win, I'd just weaponize them. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not cut out for this job after all. Or maybe you're just not good enough for me. It always shut him down. He'd try so hard, putting in all this effort, grand gestures, surprising me with gifts, planning romantic dates, and I'd just give minimal effort in return. A quick text, a mumbled love you, nothing major. Because why should I? He was the one who needed to prove himself, threatening to break up during minor disagreements. Classic me. If you're going to act like this, maybe we should just end things. It always made him panic, made him scramble to fix whatever I was upset about. It was a good way to keep him in line. And the future faking, oh, I was a master. Someday. Honey, we'll move to that little house with the big yard. Or we'll definitely go on that trip to Europe next year. Making promises with absolutely no intention of following through. Just enough to keep him hoping. To keep him invested. Affection as a reward or punishment. You bet. If he did something I liked, he'd get a little extra attention. Maybe a kiss? If he disappointed me, he'd get the cold shoulder, the silent treatment. It was an effective way to train him. Like a dog, I knew he'd check my phone sometimes. I knew he looked through my messages, and I didn't care, because I had nothing to hide. But if I ever caught him looking through my devices, oh, the uproar. How dare you invade my privacy? Don't you trust me? Double standards? Absolutely. And my secrets? Oh, I had plenty. Inappropriate boundaries with other guys. Maybe a little too much flirting at work. A few white lies here and there. But Chad never knew, because I was good at keeping secrets. He was always so trusting. Bless his heart. So, this one night, things were particularly tense. He'd been hounding me about something ridiculous. I don't even remember what. Probably something about me spending too much money or being rude to his mother. Whatever. And I was just so over it. He was being his usual Mr. Growth mindset self, trying to have a difficult conversation. And I just couldn't. I was so sick of his incessant boundary setting and self-awareness nonsense. I just wanted to shut him up. We were at my place, just us, having a discussion. And he was going on and on, this time about how I never listened to him, how I always twisted his words, how I invalidated his feelings. Blah, blah, blah. He was getting really worked up, which was rare for Chad. Usually, he'd just sigh and retreat into his shell. But this time, he was actually trying to stand his ground. It was annoying, and I just wanted him to stop talking. I remember thinking, I just need him to chill out. He needs to just relax, and then it clicked. I had these sleep aids, prescription ones, because I sometimes struggled to sleep. They were strong, and he was drinking a glass of water, a big, tall glass of water, so he got up to go to the bathroom, still mid-rant. Mind you, and I just saw the opportunity. My hand moved almost on its own. I grabbed 2 of the pills from the bottle, crushed them quickly with the back of a spoon. I'd done that before for myself when I needed them to kick in faster, and just dumped them into his water. Stirred it quickly with my finger, just to make sure it dissolved. He came back, still talking, still agitated, and picked up the glass, took a big gulp. I just watched him, poker-faced. He kept talking for a few more minutes, but then, I swear, he started to slur his words a little. His eyes got heavy. He kept blinking, looking confused. Sienna? He mumbled. I feel weird, and I just feigned concern. Oh, honey, are you okay? Maybe you're just tired. It's been a long day, he tried to protest. But within 15 minutes, he was practically comatose on the couch, snoring away. I stood over him, feeling a wave of triumph. See, I told you he was dramatic. All he needed was to chill out, and now he was point proven. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just thought, great, now I can finally relax. I went to bed, happy that I'd gotten him to shut up for once. I figured he'd wake up a little groggy, maybe think he had a weird reaction to something he ate. No big deal. The next morning, he was still asleep, and then he wasn't waking up. I poked him, I shook him. I even tried yelling. Nothing. That's when a tiny bit of panic started to creep in. Just a tiny bit. I mean, he was fine, right? I just wanted him to relax. Not whatever this was. I started to get really scared when he was still unresponsive after an hour. I checked his pulse, which was there, but faint. His breathing was shallow. My heart started to race. What if I gave him too much? What if he doesn't wake up? My mind was racing, trying to figure out what to do. Call an ambulance. No. Then they'd ask questions. Call his mom. No. She hated me anyway. I paced back and forth, my mind a blur. I thought about just leaving him, going to work, pretending like I knew nothing. But then what? What if he didn't make it? That thought actually made me shiver. Not because I cared about him dying, but because I'd be in serious trouble. So I did what anyone would do. I called 911. I made sure my voice was shaky. Like I was terrified. My boyfriend, I can't wake him up. He just fell asleep last night, and now he's not responding. I left out the part about the pills. Obviously, the paramedics arrived in what felt like seconds. They rushed in, took one look at Chad, and started working on him. They asked me a million questions. Has he taken any drugs? Any medications? Does he have any underlying conditions? I just shook my head, feigning ignorance. My voice trembling. I don't know. He seemed fine. He just passed out. They loaded him onto a stretcher and rushed him to the hospital. I rode in the ambulance, still putting on my best distraught girlfriend act. At the hospital, they did a bunch of tests, and that's when things started to go south for me. Fast. See, they found the sleep aid in his system. A lot of it, way more than he would have taken normally. The doctors were looking at me weird. The police, who were suddenly there, were looking at me even weirder. They pulled me aside, separate from Chad's family, who had started to arrive, looking all concerned and angry. His mom, that bitch, gave me the dirtiest look I'd ever seen. I wanted to just label her a bitch in my head right then. She'd always been so judgmental. Miss Sienna? One of the officers said. Do you know how this medication got into Mr. Chad's system? I stammered. No, I have no idea. Maybe he took it himself. He's been really stressed lately. I tried to make it sound believable, but even I could hear how weak it sounded. They didn't buy it. Not for a second. They knew. I could see it in their eyes. They asked if there were any of those pills in my apartment. I lied, of course. No, I don't have any prescription medication. But then they said they were going to get a warrant to search my place. My stomach dropped. I forgot I had the bottle right there, in plain sight on my nightstand. Idiot. They found the bottle, almost empty, and a small amount of crushed powder residue on a spoon in the kitchen trash. That was it. Game over. They had everything they needed. They arrested me, right there, in the hospital. While Chad was still in a medically induced coma. It was humiliating. All these people staring, whispering. Chad's mom was practically gloating. I swear. She probably thought I deserved it. The charges were serious. Assault with a deadly weapon. Administering a noxious substance. Things like that. I couldn't believe it. All because I wanted to prove a point. He was fine. By the way, he woke up a few days later, confused and angry, but otherwise physically fine. His family, of course, was furious. They told him everything. They probably exaggerated, like always. Chad was pretty quiet when I saw him in court. He looked different. Not the same over-accommodating guy I used to know. He looked tired, yes, but also really hard to read. Like he'd finally checked out for good. And he wouldn't even look at me. Not once. The trial was a blur. My lawyer tried to argue it was an accident. A misunderstanding? That I was just trying to help him relax. No one bought it. The judge, the jury, they all looked at me like I was some kind of monster. I kept telling myself, they don't understand. They don't know what he was like. He pushed me, but no one cared about my side of the story. I got convicted, and that's how I ended up with a criminal record. A permanent, life-altering criminal record. All because of him and his stupid feelings and boundaries. The judge gave me probation, community service, and a huge fine. She said I was lucky not to go to prison. Lucky? Are you kidding me? My life was ruined. I can't get a decent job now. Every background check, every application. It's all there. Assault. How am I supposed to live like this? And Chad? Chad moved on. Fast. Almost immediately after he was out of the hospital. I saw it all on Facebook. He started posting pictures with this new girl. Sarah? She was bland. Just really, really nice. The kind of nice that makes you want to punch a wall. She was always smiling, always looking at him with these adoring eyes. And he looked genuinely happy. Not the pretend happy he was with me, but really, truly happy. Like he'd found someone who wasn't constantly trying to manipulate him. It made me want to puke. His social media, which used to be all about his growth mindset and vague inspirational quotes, was now filled with pictures of him and Sarah doing genuinely loving things. Cooking together, hiking, visiting some stupid little art fair. It was sickening. They looked like the perfect couple. And I was stuck here, with my court dates and my community service, watching my life go up in smoke, my reputation destroyed. My friends, the ones who actually knew what happened, slowly started to distance themselves. Even Lisa, my closest friend, started to give me the cold shoulder. Sienna, I just can't believe you did that, she'd say, her voice dripping with judgment. Like I was some kind of monster. I guess her loyalty only went so far. She probably gossiped about me behind my back, just like all the other bitches. My job, gone? After the conviction, my boss said they had to let me go due to unforeseen circumstances and damage to the company's image. Damage to the company's image. I work in an office, not a public relations firm. It was just an excuse. They just didn't want a criminal working for them. So now I'm flipping burgers at a fast food place. And every time someone looks at me sideways, I just know they're judging me. It's not fair. Sometimes, late at night, when I'm alone, I think about it, about everything. And yeah, I guess I did put those pills in his drink. But he was being so annoying, so pushy. He made me do it. He pushed me to my limit. He was always so self-righteous with his therapy talk, always pointing out my flaws. It was his fault. Really, if he hadn't been so insistent, so judgmental, none of this would have happened. Do I regret what I did? No. I regret how it all turned out. I regret that I got caught. I regret that Chad got off scot-free while my life went to hell. It's not fair. I don't care anymore, honestly, about Chad, about Lisa, about any of them. They're all just out to get me. They always were. I mean, look at me. Everything I built, everything I thought I had, it's all stripped away. My apartment, my good job, my social life, all gone. And for what? For proving a point that he was being dramatic? This whole thing is just a massive overreaction. But you know what? I'll bounce back. I always do. It's not my fault. It's never my fault. Everyone else is just too sensitive, too judgmental, And Chad, he's probably living his perfect little life with Sarah, oblivious to the fact that he's the one who started all of this. He made me do it. He's the real villain here, not me. I'm just the one with the criminal record. Go figure.